welcome back to Mortgage Lending for Entrepreneurs. I'm Joel Farrell, and I am with a guest today here in Orlando, Florida, Renee Gonzalez. You mentioned the ADU and building an ADU. So that's on the current property you live in right now?
Yeah, that's the one that's worth over $1 million that went crazy. I wanted to buy another rental property. I couldn't, everything was expensive. So I have my 4 properties. I'm living in one. I'm like, well, how do I get to the 5th one? And I came up with this idea that I think I can build an auxiliary dwelling unit in the backyard. And my wife was like, I don't think so. There's not enough room back there. And I was like, no, I think I can do it. And I'm like running string out there and trying to measure setbacks because I'm learning the code. And I remember I'm like, what's the first step? They're like, oh, you got to get a survey. So I got a survey, and then from there, what's the next step? And I'm like, oh, you got to get somebody to draw up some plans. Okay, and then you talk to the guy that's drawing plans. Like, what do I do next? He's like, oh, you got to submit this to the city. I was like, how do I do that? He goes, oh, here's how you do it. And then I'm just like solving each problem. Then the city is like, no, you can't build that. That's too big. I'm trying to build one all on the first floor. Most people in my neighborhood put it on top of their garage, their 2-car, 3-car garage. And then I had to file a variance. I fought the city. I go sit at a table with all these like state people, like people that work for the city. And there's like a hired lawyer. And like I walk in there with my designer. He said he wanted to come because he's never experienced this, and he was going to learn what a variance is and all this stuff. And I claim discrimination. I'm like, you guys are trying to bully me and everything. And I explained that there's other people in the neighborhood building them up to 900 square foot. You guys are saying I can only do 570. That's not enough room for my mom. Because at first I was actually going to try to have my mom live there, but my mom refused. She won't leave Tampa. So at that time when I was arguing my case, I was like, I can't have my mom live in an apartment and do a plug-in cooker. And they wouldn't let me have like plumbing. They were being really strict if I wanted to go over a certain, square footage. And I filed the variance. I wrote this huge thesis and went on public record and found other lots and proved that they have auxiliary dwelling units bigger. I won the case. Then I found out that they're going to rezone the whole thing because of my case, and they will let me build up to 1,000 square foot. I was just trying to do 800. Then what I did is I scratched all those plans and built 1,000 square foot auxiliary dwelling unit. Yeah, so it was great.
And then how long from there? You get it approved. And then how long did it take to actually build it?
Oh man, that's part of it. So I thought it was going to take a year to build and cost like $150,000. Ended up taking twice as long because I had to fight the city for a year, and then it cost twice as much to build. And part of the reason why it cost twice as much is because I'm ripping up stuff that was already good. I had to rip out all my sprinklers, all my fence, all my driveway, rip the roof off of my good, 2-car garage because I'm tying into that. It was just a huge mess. I'm digging up the yard trying to save money, and I'm trenching for the fresh water. I wanted to do stuff right, so I'm running separate water meter, power meter. It was just wild. So it was a really long journey, and looking back, it's worth it because I see the rents. I'm getting like $2,300 a month from this 1,000 square foot apartment in the backyard. I have a great tenant, and it's going to pay itself off in like 8 years, where I'm going to get like all the $200 and like almost $50,000 back. Like, and that's a lot of money when you think about it. You're like, oh my gosh. But I'm going to hold all my stuff forever. That's why I call myself the forever landlord. And that's why I haven't sold my other rentals. And I've just held them for like 12 years and just keep holding them. And then I'm trying to make the business so simple to run. I can hand it to my kids and say, hey, here's how you self-manage. And it's super simple. I got all the SOPs and everything. Just do this. Keep the rental income coming.
You make that sound so simple.
Yeah, it's my mission. I've been doing it for like, I don't know, like 6 years now. Trying to optimize to make it super hands off. That's how I've been able to manage from Iraq on a backwards time zone, crappy internet. I carry home warranties. I'm always partnering with the tenant. I call it self-service management, where I get the tenants involved. I give them FAQs, how-to videos to do stuff on their own. So.
Damn.
I get tenants to do stuff all the time, but I'm primarily in long-term rentals. So this wouldn't work if you're in short-term or mid-term or some other stuff like that. I want less things to do, but I want to keep control.
Okay, I wanted to just take a quick fork on the road, right? In this environment right now, prices are higher, rates are higher. It's harder to make deals pencil. And talking about your school community, right? You're helping investors with the blueprints to be able to self-manage. What are you seeing right now as kind of the barometer for people wanting to acquire more property right now? Maybe it's a first-time home buyer or a first-time renter or not. What are you seeing?
Well, for me, every time people try to ask me real estate investing stuff, I quickly tell them, hey, I'm just a landlord. But I do have an ideal rental checklist that I provide, because I'm trying to help set you up for the second order consequence. When you're going to get the rental, how to self-manage it. So don't just buy a deal because you can find a deal. I'm not driven by the numbers so much like other people are. And I say, what you need to do is find your market, find the exact type of house that you want to rent. Are you going to be long-term? Is it going to be a one-story? Because I prefer to limit liability. Do you want block structure? Do you want it to be after a certain amount, built after a certain year, like say 2000? Do you want it to be in a certain, B-class neighborhood? And I go through all these questions. No, not near power lines, because you don't want anything awkward. It's hard to self-manage and lease awkward properties. You might have got a good deal, but then you can't find tenants and tenants don't stay. I'm trying to get the best spot that keeps good tenants long-term, so I do less things. So I set them up with that, and I tell them, I put the biggest down payment I can down. I don't care what people say. They're trying to do yield and velocity and money and put minimum dollars into an investment and stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm going to hold this forever. So my ROI will be infinity, because I'm going to hand it down to my kids. I don't care what kind of mathematical equation you're using to calculate, all this stuff. I'm just doing, how do I get this property? How do I hold it forever? How do I pay it off? So I tell them, hey, if you can't pencil it, put more down, save up longer, take your time. It's not a rush,
I love that philosophy. Yeah, everyone is just so short-sighted. They want things to happen tomorrow, and that's not how real estate is. And again, we were introduced through Mark Oshiro, financial firefighter. Hello, Mark. And on his show and my show, we talk about the 5 years of suck. When you get into real estate, it's a long game. You may not see all the fruits of your labor or the results in the first few years. Sometimes it takes 5 years of dealing with bullshit until you start to see the wins and doors open. And speaking of doors open, no pun intended, but getting the first couple ones, right? You now have the experience to do more. You build a school community, you build an ADU, have this new perspective on things. If you were talking to a first-time landlord, what's the hardest thing to overcome, or the hardest thing you have to get through to make it work?
I would say there's two struggles. First is when a small mom and pop landlord has a property manager and they second guess, question the property manager, and they think they can do it. That's the first struggle. Overcoming that, deciding if you want to go all in and learn the business, which I recommend. I don't care if you want to scale and have like 100 doors. I still think it's like going back to learning math and doing it without a calculator and stuff like that. Learn the basics, because you can better manage the property manager later. And so that would be the first, I guess, piece of advice I would offer them, to try to be like brave, overcome that, and do it themselves, at least for a little bit. And then the second one would be, as you're actually doing your own property management, there comes a point where it's like you're trying to text the tenants. You're trying to be friends with the tenants. You're calling the tenants and stuff. You need to distance yourself at some point and run your operation more like a rental business. And then what you do is you need to get a professional domain, website, email, virtual address, and stuff like that, and start setting up policies. And you got to start investing in your business. So that would be the next piece of advice. Would be like, hey, at some point you're gonna have to put money into it and quit trying to run it like a hobby and take it serious.